I want you to imagine something. You're standing on the shore of a huge, dark lake, deep in the Scottish Highlands. The water's like glass, there's mist rising off the surface, and it feels both peaceful and, well, a little bit spooky. This is Loch Ness. And yeah, it holds more fresh water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined, which is wild. But that's not why we're all fascinated by it, is it? It's the question of what might be hiding down there, in the dark. Okay, let's dive right in. So where does this all begin? Well, you have to go way, way back, over 1,400 years ago. The very first written mention we have is from a biography of an Irish missionary, Saint Columba. The story goes that back in 565 AD, he came across some locals burying a man near the River Ness. They told him this poor guy was attacked and killed by a water beast while he was swimming. So what does Columba do? He sends one of his own followers into the water. Sure enough, the beast shows up, and Columba makes the sign of the cross and just tells it to back off. And according to the legend, it did. This one story planted a seed that would just lie there for centuries, waiting to grow into this massive global phenomenon. So for the next, 1,300 years, the story of the water beast was pretty much just local folklore, something people in the area talked about. But then, in the 1930s, boom. Everything changed. It was like a perfect storm of new roads, over-the-top journalism, and a couple of really dramatic eyewitness stories that were about to turn a little local legend into one of the world's greatest mysteries. Things just took off like a rocket in 1933. See, a new road was finished along the northern shore, which meant for the first time ever, people had this amazing, uninterrupted view of the water as they drove by. That April, a hotel manager named Aldi Mackay saw what she described as a whale-like creature just rolling around in the water. A journalist got a hold of her story, and, this is key, he's the one who first called it the Loch Ness Monster. A few months later, things got even crazier. A guy named George Spicer and his wife claimed they saw a creature with a long neck, what he literally called the nearest approach to a dragon, scramble across the road right in front of their car. And just like that, monster fever was on. With the newspapers going absolutely crazy for the story, the stage was set. It was the perfect moment for what would become the single most famous, most influential piece of the entire Loch Ness legend, an image that would define what this monster looked like for generations to come. And this is the one, the image that changed everything. In 1934, a highly respected London surgeon, a guy named Robert Kenneth Wilson, said he took this picture. The fact that it came from a man of science, a surgeon, gave it this instant credibility that all the other stories just didn't have. The photo went viral, 1930s style. It was a global sensation. And for millions of people, this grainy, black and white picture was all the proof they needed. Something ancient was alive in that loch. So, the surgeon's photograph just kicked off this firestorm of theories. What could it be? And the most popular idea, the one that really captured everyone's imagination, was that Nessie was a plesiosaur. One of those long-necked marine reptiles from the age of dinosaurs. The idea was that somehow this creature had survived extinction for 65 million years, hidden away in the deep, freezing waters of Scotland. But what if this whole incredible legend was built on a lie? For 60 years, the surgeon's photo was held up as the best evidence, full stop. Then, in 1994, the truth finally came out, and it was a doozy. It was all an elaborate hoax. The guy behind it was a big game hunter hired by a newspaper to find the monster. But after he faked some footprints using a hippo foot ashtray, I'm not kidding, the paper made fun of him. So for revenge, he and his stepson built a model using a toy submarine and some wood putty, photographed it, and got the surgeon to pass it off as his own to make it seem legit. The most iconic image of Nessie was just a few inches tall. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Mystery solved. But not quite. In a weird way, exposing the hoax just made people want to know the truth even more. It kicked off a much more serious scientific quest to figure out what was really going on in that loch. For decades now, scientists have used everything from submarines and sonar to DNA analysis to search for answers. First off, to even begin to understand the mystery, you got to get your head around the sheer scale of Loch Ness. At its deepest point, it's 754 feet deep. That is so deep you could drop a 60-story skyscraper in there and you wouldn't even see the top. I mean, that incredible depth alone kind of helps you understand why a mystery could last for so long. And it's not just deep, it's huge. Loch Ness holds about 7.5 cubic kilometers of water. Now, to put that in perspective, that is more fresh water than every single lake in England and Wales combined. all of them. It's this colossal, dark, murky body of water, stained with peat from the hills, so you can barely see a thing. It's the perfect place, you might think, for something to hide. So you've got all this space, all this mystery. Researchers have brought some serious tech to the party. We're talking fleets of boats with sonar, little submarines, robotic drones, and, most recently, they've done these huge environmental DNA surveys, just testing the water to see what's living in there. So, after all that time and all that effort, what did they actually discover? Well, while they haven't found a monster, they have found some pretty fascinating explanations. For example, boat wakes. Because the loch is so long and straight, a single boat's wake can travel for miles, and from a distance, it looks just like a series of humps moving through the water long after the boat itself is gone. Then there's the DNA evidence. Sorry to disappoint, but no signs of a plesiosaur. They did, however, find a ton of eel DNA, which has led some to think that maybe, just maybe, Nessie could be an absolutely gigantic eel. And of course, in that dark, murky water, it's really easy to see how a floating log or even just a trick of the light could be mistaken for something a whole lot more mysterious. So if science has pretty much explained away the monster, does that mean the magic of Loch Ness is gone? No, not at all. Actually, what a lot of people find is that the real magic isn't about hunting for a monster. It's in the landscape itself. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? Over 1 million tourists are drawn to this place every single year. They can't all be there just looking for Nessie. They come because the story of the monster is the perfect gateway to discovering one of the most beautiful landscapes on the planet. To really get this place, you have to look at how it was made. Loch Ness isn't just a lake. It sits inside the Great Glen, a colossal fault line that literally slices Scotland in two. It was formed hundreds of millions of years ago and then carved out by glaciers. It's this incredible scar on the landscape, and that sheer power of its creation gives the whole area this feeling of ancient, wild grandeur. And standing watch over it all, you have the ruins of Urquhart Castle. This medieval fortress has seen over 1,000 years of history, and it's perched on one of the most beautiful spots on the entire loch. Whether you're sailing past it on a boat or exploring the ruins yourself, you get this amazing connection to Scotland's history with that deep, dark water right there. Trust me, it's one of Scotland's most visited castles for a very good reason. Okay, so if you're feeling inspired to go, the area around the loch is absolutely packed with things to see and do. This is not just about staring at the water and hoping for the best. It's about really experiencing the heart of the Highlands. So if you're planning a trip, where do you even start? Let's quickly run through a few key spots. Drumnadrochit is basically Nessie Central. It's the main hub for all the tours and monster stuff. And if you want a great pub experience, Fiddler's is famous for its food and its frankly insane whiskey collection. Of course, you absolutely cannot miss Urquhart Castle. Pro tip here, and trust me on this, book your tickets online way in advance because it gets packed. Down at the southern end of the loch is Fort Augustus, where you can just hang out and watch the boats go up and down this amazing staircase of locks on the Caledonian Canal. It's really cool. And if you want to see something truly spectacular, find the Falls of Foyers. It's a bit of a steep walk, but the view of this 140-foot waterfall is just, wow, totally worth it. So as we start to wrap this up, it becomes pretty clear that whether you believe in the monster or not is almost beside the point. The story is this powerful hook, but the reality of the place is what's truly captivating. You know, there's this great quote from Adrian Shine, a naturalist who has studied the loch for over 40 years, and he just nails it. The idea of Nessie is so powerful, so fun, so mysterious that it's become a part of the place itself. The legend lives on because it taps into our love of the unknown and, our desire for a little bit of magic in the world. Ultimately, the Loch Ness Monster is the perfect invitation. It's that compelling story, that big what if, that pulls you into the heart of the Scottish Highlands. It's the excuse you need to visit a place you might have otherwise just skipped over. But once you get there, you discover something so much deeper. You find the jaw-dropping scenery of the Great Glen, the centuries of history and those castle walls, the warmth of the local pubs, and just the raw, wild beauty of it all. That is the real magic. The monster gets you in the door, but the place itself is what wins you over. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The story of Nessie is a powerful reminder of how much myths can matter. They shape our world, they inspire us to go explore, and they connect us to places in this really deep way. It makes you wonder, right? What other stories are out there that are so good, so important to a place's identity? that whether they're literally true or not just doesn't matter as much as the magic they create.